Oh man, it's one of those lessons that you hate to learn, but I feel like they're all the greatest lessons are the ones you hate to learn because that last loss really hit me. Um, and I've had the best camp, the best conditioning, and I am going into this fight with a huge chip on my shoulder, which I feel like that's when I perform and function the best. So it's been great for me, honestly. It sucks to take a loss to revamp me, but this is where I am, and I'm happy for it. I just had a question asked to me. Somebody told me that I always have hard matchups, but I really don't think they're hard matchups. I think I'm here. I deserve to fight the best of the best because I think I am the best. And I don't know. It's hard to explain. I guess it's just how things have gone. It's been a little bizarre for me. I think the Bozina fight, I took it, and I think that was a little bit of a robbery. The Stamp, she was the better one that fight. But man, was that a good fight? So it was hard to be disappointed in those. But the Jihin, I definitely think I underperformed. So here I am. I know I'm one of the best. I think a lot of my fans know that too. And it's time for me to prove it. It's time for me to put on a clinic against a new up and coming. I think that's the problem. I think I haven't felt enough pressure. I think having being a fan favorite and putting on such great shows, all of my fights are so exciting, and my fans love me for it. So I think that now I feel the pressure, but it's personal pressure for me to prove myself and for me to myself and to my supporters what I really can do. Um, but no, I don't feel pressure from the outside at all. Mentally, I've stayed in a flow state. I've just maintained a fun, a functioning, um, just having fun, doing what I love, and not just going through the motions like I had been. I've been fighting for a long time. So naturally, we plateau sometimes. And I think that's where you're finding me at the end of my plateau. I think the last couple of fights, I just have been going motions, camp after camp. This one, I enjoyed every little bit of it. I conditioned a lot more this camp. I'm the best conditioned I've been. Lots of wrestling, lots of everything, honestly. I've obviously prepared for the opponent that I have, but I think the big difference this one is my enjoyment and my conditioning. Yeah, definitely. You'd be a fool not to prepare for her wrestling. Um, but I also prepared to shut down her wrestling, to not let it get there. And I think that's where this fight is going to be won by me. Um, the steps of the one twos of fighting. I think wrestling, you have to get through the stand up, you have to get motions, you have to get through transitioning from stand up to wrestling to get to her field. And before she can get there, I'm going to win the first two levels of MMA, which is the stand up, the footwork, and I'm not going to let her get to where she wants to be. It's obviously the finishes are impressive, but it's really hard to gauge because she hasn't fought anybody I think is top 10 or top potential. I think she's had great matchups for her. So it's tough for me as an opponent because you can't underestimate knowing what her wrestling skills are. But you can't really gauge where she's at knowing I'm none of who she's faced. So I've really just been studying, you know, how she likes to get her takedowns, what her movements are and her tendencies. I haven't been paying much attention to her finishes or the success of what she's done. Yeah, definitely. I think that she still needs to, she hasn't experienced enough of the transitioning from striking to takedown. It's quite basic right now. She doesn't have a lot of slick ways to get into the takedown. She just powers through them. She does have good chain wrestling once she gets a hold of you, but to getting from being far to getting close, her transition is not that great yet. And she hasn't been hit by anybody like me. So with movement and with my power, I don't think she's going to get to where she wants to be. I don't like anything about this matchup, to be honest with you. I'm um pretty upset. I have a chip on my shoulder because of the timing, because of the opponent. I think that having me as a warm-up fight for her before the Grand Prix is an insult to me, but I have to prove that. But if you're asking me personally how I feel, I think I'm nobody's warm-up fight. I'm nobody's stepping stone. If you're gonna look for a warm-up fight for somebody going into the Grand Prix, it shouldn't have been me. And I'm gonna prove that. Yes, I think that she would have been smarter. Her team would have been smarter to take somebody else as a warm-up fight before the Grand Prix. I think I'm gonna win this fight because I've always had the skills of fighting the top and beating the top. I think, especially, I think I've let myself down a bunch of times in not fighting harder, not smarter. Although that's what made me popular, it's what also gave me those close decision losses. Is the brawling and the emotional fighting. I think right now she's meeting me um, at a great time for me, so it's a bad time for her, if that makes sense. I definitely think it must be to take me to the ground. Um, that's what I'm anticipating. And if it's not, that would be wonderful for me. But I would think she has a great team. She has a smart coach. So I would think a game plan against me would be take me to the ground and take me to deep waters, and not letting me up, because the only ground you've seen it from me on one has been impressive in my debut. And with Jihin, we had some exchanges, but I ended it pretty dominating fashion on the ground. So I think she's in for a surprise on how strong my ground game is. I think I will frustrate her. I think I will hit her hard. I think she will shoot desperately, and I think I would defend it, and or catch her on the way in. Personal pressure, like I said before, I definitely feel personal pressure. I know how good I am. My fans know how good I am. It's time for me to prove it. It's time for me to fight smarter and get the win. It's not enough to just put on a show. It's time to shut it down. And you know, yeah, I'm so sorry. I lost the original question. I think it's great. I think the princess was big and then it just disappeared. And I think that this is a great time to revamp it and revamp it in Asia. Chatri is definitely one of those weird combinations of nice but also really scary. So he's kind of the perfect person to host an apprentice show. And having the physical aspect of it definitely fires contestants up. I remember being on Survivor, the physical stuff really messed up our mental stuff as well. So it's a great idea and a great show so far. I do. I caught some of the episodes. Honestly, I'm not a screen time kind of girl. I don't watch a lot of things, but I have caught the first episode. Oh, I've got to be in it if one championship does it. I think it would be great, because we're athletes. It'll be really really interesting. Actually, that'd be really cool. It's a good idea.